because the kind of changes we've experienced in 2023, we've not seen it in a long time. 2023 for the real estate industry, especially those of us in housing construction now, has been one year that is so full of instability in terms of prices of building materials. We find situations where budgets that are even prepared, get obsolete within 1 month. So you go to the market to buy a ton of 20 tons of granite at a certain price this week. In 2 weeks' time, it's another price. So it's been a bit challenging, but be that as it may, Denaro Properties, we are appreciative to God for what we've been able to achieve. This year, at least, we've done nothing less than about 3 to 4 housing projects that we've started between last year and this year, and some of them we're rounding them up to deliver them to home buyers. So it's been a very good year, in that on that side. But in terms of stability, in terms of ability to plan, it's been a very tough year. It's been a very challenging year. We can only hope that in years to come, things become much more stable, and that Nigeria can find a way around the current economic challenges that is facing investors in the country.
The combination of the elections, inflation, and all the other macroeconomic indicators somehow must have also hit the industry hard, or harder than what was expected. Was there any preparations made by the industry or anticipation that, okay, fine, with all of this, it will be a slow year, or it will be as tough as
it is? Yeah. Well, the point is that nobody really envisaged the kind of topsy-turvy situation you had, because a lot of uncertainties were around the after the presidential election. There was so much uncertainty because some sector of the country believes that they need to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court needs to have a final say. So that time lag between the election and the Supreme Court judgment, there was so much instability and lack of confidence in the market, in the industry. So a lot of people who were even readily going to buy houses had to withhold their fund. But you see, at Denaro Homes, conservatism and not just over expecting that things will work out has really always helped us in terms of budgets, in terms of planning for situations like this. So we can say that to a certain extent we're prepared and we're not fully caught aware by situations like this. In our contracts where we could review, we had to review. Where we cannot review, we had to assimilate some of the losses and just find a way to move ahead. It's a year that is, for any serious developer, it's a year that it has trained everybody. So to expect, and to plan for the best or the worst. So that's just it. Let me just say it's a year that has trained people, to now look forward and say you don't expect everything to be rosy in years to come. So it's such a year.
Okay. What's your outlook for 2024?
Okay, 2024 going forward, people are better prepared. The election is now over. Then we will now begin to see from December, from what I heard, the Dangote refinery should start producing. A lot of instability in the forest markets. What people are targeting to see some level of stability, number one, is the kickstart of that refinery, because by the time it starts and then importation of petrol reduces, the demand on dollars should also reduce. That's the expectation that people have. So there are a lot of policies that the current administration is putting in place will start seeing fruition. So we expect that 2024 is going to be better. In fact, from the publications by reputable institutions like the Citibank and some financial institutions in the US, you discover that what they are estimating is that Nigeria has bottomed out now, and that going forward it should be better. Things should be better. In fact, I think JP Morgan gave the Naira rate pegged it at about 750, between 750 and 850 for 2024. So once we witness those level of stability and then confidence comes back to the market, then things should pick up from 2024. Hopefully, it should be better a year than 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking at the economic policies put in place so far, do you think they're appropriate for the revival of the economy?
Yeah, the economic policy put in place at the federal level, except we just want to be biased, everything that has been done so far by the Tinubu administration is saying country that wants to move forward no choice than to do it. Like the removal of subsidy, it was killing the economy. At some point in time, if we had continued to do subsidy, Nigeria would declare bankruptcy. So we're going to get to that. So, and then in terms of the dollar policy, there was no way than to just do that. Maybe, doing everything at once was a challenge. Facing it and then seeing the effect of it, maybe it would have been better. But presently there's nothing much that could have been done in that regard. So, but what we're looking at is that, going into 2024, these policies should now start, coming into fruition. We should start seeing better results than we've seen in the previous years.
Okay, let's talk about Denaro properties. And tell us a bit about the focus.
Yeah, the Denaro property started about 10 years ago. We were into site and services, but as at 2016, we moved fully into housing construction because of the level of challenges that are involved with site and services. You discover that a lot of people who buy land just want to speculate. They don't have any plan to build, and then you keep maintaining those sites, and then you keep incurring liabilities over the year. That segment of the business is based on cash flow. So a lot of developers see the cash flow coming in, and so they keep pushing it, and they don't understand that at some point in time the cash flow will either dry up or reduce. So, but housing construction can be quite challenging on its own. It's a lot to take up. It's full of challenges. We are facing some of those challenges now. We have faced some of those challenges in the past, but we keep overcoming, we keep learning new things. But in terms of the exit, it's very easy to manage the exit, because the day you finish construction of housing for people, you hand it over to them. They need to take care of their property. So for Denaro properties, since 2016, we've had landmark projects. We are focused majorly on housing construction on the Lagos mainland, and our projects are tailored towards the middle to high income earners population. So presently, we have our projects spread across the Ikeja axis, Adeni Jones axis, Agidingbi, and Maryland. So we've had projects in Allen, we've had projects in Ilupeju. Our first major project was in Ilupeju, about 11 terraces, fully serviced, called Granville Court on Adeakinsoya Street. So it's something that we now do and we enjoy, and because we bring quality into whatever we do, it speaks for us. In fact, there are some clients now who comes to buy properties just because of our pedigree. They don't bother to even check anything. They don't bother to check any documentation. They just believe that if it's Denaro Properties that is selling this company has integrity, and they will just go ahead and buy. So God has been able to help us to be able to build that brand to that level that it now brings confidence. In fact, by the time people go around and they see some of the projects we've done, they will just say, okay, let's look for the funds and buy whatever we need to buy. So we thank God for that, and that's been our focus for now.
So what's the next stage?
So the next stage is to go international, doing things across the West African region. We were recently in Ghana to explore the Accra market, and we're talking to one or two partners over there, and we're looking at also expanding across the states of the Federation, doing things in Abuja and doing things across the West African region. So the sky is a starting point. So as time goes by, we'll also do the international markets, the US markets, and also play in Europe. So these are long-term vision. It's beyond the local market.
So how did you come up with the brand name Denaro Properties?
Okay.
How easy was it?
So Denaro was, so by the time we were, having that name, we submitted different names at CAC. The way it goes, and we wanted to be associated with wealth. We wanted to be associated with prosperity. So we had to look at a language that is not common, that people will not be able to pick, and that's how Denaro came to be. And since then, we've been using the Denaro brand.
Okay. What was the attraction for real estate for you at the time you went into it?
Okay, so we went into real estate in 2012, just after the stock market crash. We were originally not in the in the real estate market. We were doing stock market consulting in Allen Avenue, just one apartment in one Allen Avenue, writing newspaper articles for the likes of Fortune and Class, you know, writing stock market articles for them. But I just had that vision that that market was going to experience a bubble, and that bubble will burst. And that it's time we start diversifying. I had been reading a lot about real estate and the benefits and the strengths in that market, and we always wanted to play. And so shortly before that market crashed in 2008, we got a parcel of land in Ogun State in Mowe axis, and that's how we were able to launch into the real estate market. And thankfully we were able to move when we moved, because everybody who kept their fortunes in the stock market at that time, you know, today, you know, they have themselves to blame for it, because it took for so many people, they didn't even recover from that loss in 2009, 2010, as an aftermath of the financial crisis that started from the United States and also spread all over the globe. So, but you discover that the real estate investment is a solid investment, because your property is there, nothing is moving it away. And because the Nigerian real estate market is not highly leveraged, is due to self-funding and self-financing, you discover that you don't experience extreme fluctuation in housing prices. So people tell you, in fact, a lot of people will tell you, you need to increase my rent because the price of fuel has also moved from so point to another point. That is possible because it's not mortgaged, the housing market is not mortgaged that much, and it's not leveraged. So it's mostly due to people's effort, and so they can dictate what price they want to rent out houses, what price they want to sell houses.
So it appears that you saw some things that people didn't see at the time you went in, kind of, and it worked out positively for you.
Yeah. I think that's one gift God has given us, the ability to see, you know, before it happens. Even this real estate, I think the market was booming around 2008. 2008, that was for a lot of companies, that was the peak in terms of even housing sales and what have you. A lot of companies that came later, you know, just came to meet a part of the market, but the real boom was between 2008 and 2000. But we already knew that segment of the market too had its own challenges. It's not as if people can't get things done there, but you see, it's limited. You know, when you say you acquire a parcel of land and then you share it among people and you expect that they want to develop, you discover that the development sometimes cannot be uniform, and then it comes with different headaches when people don't develop. So you start having issues with Ajagunbales, that's the land grabbers. You start having issues with different government agencies. Another government comes today, said he has approved your CFO. In another 4 years, they come again, like in Ogun State. What happened in Ofada Axis? They said during Ghana came and said they revoked the CFO 2 kilometers off the expressway, and that's what killed that market. You know, so we saw those things and we discovered that this segment of the market is not so, you know, strong. And that's why we said, okay, the final end users, which is land property owners, why don't we start catering to their needs? Build for them, hand over their property to them. Whatever happens after that, they take care of it. And so God has really given us that benefit of hindsight to see things before they begin to happen, you know. So
what do you think is the solution to some of the current challenges that property developers are facing with money lend, a multiple sale of the same property to different people and all that?
Yeah, presently I was reading an article over the weekend, and the article says that 60% of litigations in Ikeja High Court is land related. No, not 60, 70. Yes. 70% of litigation in our high courts today is land related. That's to tell you that the present laws, the enabling laws that guide land transaction in Nigeria is outdated, is obsolete, and needs to be changed. So presently, all land transactions are predicated on the 1978 Land Use Act, you know, which says that the interest in land is vested in the state governor, you know, but, you know, it now comes with different challenges. And so you discover that the people who wants to be unscrupulous have now devised different ways of, you know, maneuvering around those laws and just perpetrating wrongs and evils. So how do we correct the anomalies in the market? The first thing is to revisit that law. I've been part of a delegation as at 2012 that visited the National Assembly when I was the National Auditor for the Real Estate Developer Association in Abuja. We visited the National Assembly to submit a bill to say, in fact, that bill had been reviewed. It was just for the House to pass it, the Land Use Act, for it to be passed and reviewed. Up till now, our legislators have not done anything about it. So that law needs to be reviewed. We need to really know who has the interest in land, who has the absolute. Is it the government? Is it the people? Because we even now see places in Ikeja now. You see Omoniles going about again with Supreme Court judgment to say they want to take possession. Look at the Magodo scenario where people have built over the years and they say Lagos State government allotted to them. The same thing in different places. So you discover that everything is just scattered. So that law needs to be reviewed. And then number 2, there should be security of title. Because when you say you have CFO, CFO is just like one ways of claiming ownership of land. There are different ways. People who have better story can come to court and tell a better story than you, and they will defeat your CFO. So then what is now the security of your title? When you say the best thing you should have, when you say you want to secure a title, the property is CFO. So, but if that CFO can also be defeated in court, then what is now your lot? So that security of title has to be sacrosanct. If you are doing a transaction in the United States, for example, at the point at time where you are buying that property, whoever has owned that property is in the registry. When you are signing off on that property, the government takes the charges for documentation and they assign it to you. So there's no hanky-panky, there's no illegal way that people can come in and start dragging land with owners. So that's one thing that needs to be fixed, to really help the housing market. Among so many things, what about price of building materials? We need to create an enabling environment for businesses that deal in building materials to thrive. The likes of Dangote, the likes of Boa Cement and the rest of them. We may blame them that, they have the monopolistic tendencies and what have you. But the truth of the matter is, are we not buying from the same market? So the same market that is selling diesel 800 naira a few months ago is now selling the same diesel for 1,200 naira. So how do you think it will not affect the cost of production since they are using diesel? So these are not Father Christmas or just people who are doing charity. They are business people. So there are so many ways. Look at the Jakarta steel mill. A lot of things that Nigeria can be producing, we keep focusing on importing. Areas where we can even have competitive advantage if our government is really serious. Some of the funds that have been recovered Abacha loot and what have you, if it's just to invest it on the steel mill alone, to say our priority for this year is to be self-sustaining in terms of steel production, you discover that we can do it. Serious countries like China, these are things that they do, and they get traction with time over the years. So a lot needs to be done, and then you discover that issue of multiple taxation is also a major challenge, especially in Lagos State. For example, the Lagos State government recently increased the building permit fees by almost by 100%. It's yet to be implemented. They are planning to implement it by early next year, but the town planners themselves have been contesting it, that introducing this thing when the market is even very difficult and tough and harsh for people is not the best thing. That why don't they delay these things, till later? So you discover that in Lagos, you are faced with multiple charges and taxations. So you have different agencies that you need to pay to. Some of these agencies, they are supposed to be regulators, but you discover that in their approach, they are just revenue driven. They just want to generate revenue and they don't care so much about the regulatory role that they are supposed to play. So these are some of the things that can be done to just reduce the to make things easy in the market for developers.